Wizards. Hope you're all having a great Saturday. The weekend has arrived and the market is being a little tricky. So it makes perfect sense that we jump straight in with a market breakdown. But more importantly, also to kind of touch upon what is going on over the next few days. Now, when I say next few days, I mean the next few days, a matter of days. The Wizard platform, it's here, it's coming. It has arrived. Now, we're going to release the official release date very soon. We'll be giving that away at any given moment in time. I cannot reveal when that's going to be released either, but we will be giving you a release date very soon. So just thought I'd throw out there before we even begin how excited I am for all of this. It's been a long time coming. We've had a little bit of a technical error. We've recovered from that. We've bounced back. We've come back harder. We've made new content. There's even more stuff on the platform now for all of you. I've even added some new educational content as a bonus just to make up for the lost time. We've got the demo coming soon. Everything is going well. Everything is going smooth. And yet again, as you can probably tell from my voice, the tone, the happiness, the excitement, freedom is here at last. Now, you know the motto, freedom for all. It's time to put that to the test very soon and see if you guys are ready to become true wizards in the full form. So looking at the market first and foremost, it's been a bit tricky. We did get the Ether stop loss hit, which was a bit sad compared to the overall profitable week we've had, especially with the week before. And the calls have been very good. We had a very accurate call and a very accurate entry on Ether. But we have seen a bit of trickery going on. So we need to actually start identifying if this pullback in the market right now is a sign of bigger things to come. Because overall, no matter what happens here, the overall gist of what we were aiming for was a push higher one last time. I mean something very, very small like this. We were looking at roughly, let me use the daily to make this a bit clearer. All we were really looking for overall was a movement like this, either here up to around the $10,000 region, and then a breakdown towards the $8,000 region, potentially pushing into the $6,000 region. And then from there onwards, we were anticipating a movement higher. So all we've really done is potentially right now, if we do see the movement lower, all we've done is simply skipped this phase. We've cut this out and we've gone straight to the downside instead. So we are waiting for the market right now to provide some nice signs. This was a 3-step process, if you remember, pushing from here up to around $12,000 next. This was the overall agenda and bias we were aiming to achieve. So understanding all of this in its full form, the first thing we need to do with BTC is look at where it is right now. This for me is a massive, massive telltale sign. We are going to probably avoid this right now and go straight towards the downside targets of the 78.6. Now, the initial bias here we have to remember, guys, is we have to understand if I drop this down to where this was, we've got the shoulders, the head, and the potential shoulders here. The overall gist, as I've said in every video, is no matter what happens, we are going to fulfill $8,000 one last time before we even consider breaking to the upside. But if you do drag this a little bit lower, you would actually notice this falls down to around $7,700. So if I drag this zone down, you can see around the $7,700 zone. If we make this a little bit more precise, and if you really wanted to, you could even extend this all the way up from 7.7 from the wick there to the fib. You can see there's a nice little zone for where price can fall into. And this could be a great region to consider long opportunities. And it could be from here onwards, we actually see the movement we long for. And again, a good example is if we do not even see the $6,000 push, you've got the perfect Fibonacci and zone rejection here, the shoulders, head, shoulders, and then boom, we start rocketing towards $12,400. So we have potentially just missed a little bit of an extra movement, but if you were to even use a rotated rectangle tool just to kind of form what would be a potential channel, you can see overall we are seeing that same form of movement, the push down and then the movement higher, the push down, the movement higher. So what we're essentially looking at, what was once a very promising pullback towards the $8,900 zone. Remember, this is where we caught the initial long from and then the short. So if I go over to the weekly, you can see this a bit clearer. There is a nice rejection over here, a push higher. We've rejected this zone, which was once support term resistance. So the overall signs right now are leading to more downside, because if you do get rid of everything else and just show this chart from this particular angle, all you're seeing is lower lows, even if I get rid of this from there. all you're seeing from here is just bearish. If I got rid of that, all this shows to me is bearish. And if you got rid of all the prior price action and just ignored everything, all you're seeing on a monthly basis since July is lower lows and lower highs. And this could very easily lead us to that final dump of the $6,000 region, which I do truly believe at this point in time is going to come through if we do see that push lower. So understanding how all of this works and understanding that although we have the $8,000 region here, we need to be careful because it really is a 50-50 moment in time right now. And we're either going to see, again, this is now invalidated for me personally, the fact we've broken below the 61.8 fib. All that means for me is I would mark out this zone over here on the daily, which we've just broken out from. Remember, this was a very crucial region of resistance turned support. And when we came down to reject this, that was why I was favoring that push to the upside. It wasn't a huge breakout. I simply wanted to capture one last long opportunity before we saw this movement come through. Because once we're in this range, we have a very important job to dictate whether this will be the final floor for 2019 or whether this will be the final floor for 2019. And again, just elaborating on many different calls that I've given, I've stated $8,500 to $8,000 all the way back when we were up here. It's the first thing I said. And as I said in the voice note in Telegram, I've even got a video within the Wizard course to show you exactly this call. This is also on YouTube as well if need be. I believe it was one of the videos where I flipped the account, several BTC or whatever it was on BitMEX, but you can check that out as well. But the matter of the fact is, it just shows how logic goes a long way and why I do not look at other people's calls, because we've seen a few things recently. People are laughing at the possibility of the $16,000 region or even all these other calls that have been given. But the truth is, if you look at the majority of the timeline of people's calls throughout this year, the same people that are now shifting to a bearish bias are shifting too late. It's funny how we've had this bias. I've given this bias since around June, mid-June, and we've been prepared for bearish momentum since June. But the majority of people are only switching to the bearish bias now and only focusing on that downside right now, which means when the majority starts shifting to one bias, I will always go and do the exact opposite. That's how I work. That's how I always have worked. If you've noticed, the majority of people that are now switching to a downside bias have a little scroll through their tweets and their Instagram, and they were calling for the likes of 30 to 40, 50, $60,000 by the end of the year when we were over here. It's crazy how much euphoria can get to people because people do not understand the cryptocurrency market dynamics. Just because we went from $3,000 to $14,000 in a year, it doesn't mean you'll go to $20,000, $40,000 or $50,000 in a year. There are much larger fundamental stakes at play here. So the overall gist of this is we do understand now, broken through this support, looking at a potential retest maybe, and then we could even catch a nice short down from there. But if you look at the overall, let me get this up as well. So with this that's going on right now, this is why the $8,000 region could be the final floor, because we're actually coming back down now for that trendline retest, which is inevitably going to align within this overall region, which means lots of wick fishing, potentially down to $7,700. But all in all, we're looking at what could potentially be a very nice closure back above the trend line and maintain. I don't know what was I about to say maintenance? I think I was, but something went wrong there. That was some kind of technical error with my brain and voice box. I apologize for that. But looking at this overall and this just nice little bounce over here, I mean, it goes hand in hand. If I do plot the Fibonacci as well, it's almost a no-brainer that if we do maintain this trend line, and again, this shows the importance of confluences. And when I show you the Wizard trading strategies, for example, or even the Wizard's checklist for trades, we've now got crucial level of support. That's one confluence. Got the shoulder, head, another shoulder. That's the second confluence. We've got the trendline retest, that's the third confluence. We've got the 78.6, that's the fourth confluence. Not to mention, it also would lead to a potential from this swing, a new higher low. So that's 5 confluences alone on one single setup. Now, putting all of that into perspective, this is what probabilities are about. This is why with every trade I take, whether that's 0.5% or 1% risk, I do not care what the consequences are because I've put the odds in my favor as much as possible. And if the market does not play ball, then that's just an unfortunate circumstance. But with that many confluences, it's almost a no-brainer to be scoping that kind of opportunity. And looking from here, we've gone from wick to body, pushing down over here. We've got a nice closure as well. So we have extended this a bit lower just to cater for this potential retest. So do watch out for this. But At the same time, we also have to question this bad boy movement over here, because if we do look at this and we see the rejections over here, the broken support term resistance pushing down, this does line up with around $6,000, and arguably this is a very large possibility. So I'm more favorable right now for the $6,000 region to come through in a flash surprise. But if the level does fail to hold, then by all means necessary, I will simply just look to buy around the $8,000 region. But simply copying this, making a channel, again, you can do this how you wish, but I'm just going from where the most rejections are. If you want to go from there to there, you can do as well, but it's not as precise. But you can see overall there is a channel that we have broken out from. So understanding this channel that has been broken, we can very quickly see and identify that there is going to be a potential reversal to the upside. So looking at this reversal here, boom, rejection, this could confluence with a huge upside explosion. So we do need to be careful to some extent. And going over to the weekly of XRP, we can see the exact same theory has come through again. We're maintaining that floor. You've got the shoulders, the head, the potential shoulders. Although we have rejected this 30 cents region, if we do maintain here, looking at all of this congestion, this wick, as I said, we've come all the way down. You would have noticed I said back off from XRP for the time being, because looking at this region right now, because we are here, and because we have actually failed to break this wick, and because we've maintained the 26% region, we are more likely than not going to be reversing to the upside now. So just looking at this overall, I did say beat XRP. Let's avoid this for now, because 26 cents is looking like a huge region for wick fishing, and we've come down and we've actually managed to extend this a little bit further into the 25 cents region. So we fulfilled the wick fishing, and you can see on the daily, absolute perfection on that zone right now. We've got a few wicks down here which could come through, something I am definitely being cautious of, but all in all as well, the same theory applies with the trend line. It's still been broken, it still hasn't been rejected. So understand here with this level that's holding, and if I do just get a nice little Fibonacci up and away, open, you can see the 61.8s there as well, give or take. If I do perfect that a little bit more, you can see overall we've got around 34 cents and 38 cents as well. So the upside bias does still remain for the time being, but I am a bit cautious of wick fishing as well with the 78.6, and that's why right now I am sticking to a bit more of a longer term bias, because the market is still scaring me a little bit. The matter of the fact is, if we do break below this zone, we are going to nosedive. And again, as I've said all year long for the majority of the year, if BTC does break this level, and we do actually see this as a false breakout of a major channel since July, even May or June. Technically, it formed around June. So considering how strong this channel is and the fact we've broken out, this could indicate what is potentially going to be the confirmation and build up of the next bull run. So if BTC does break below that level, and we do see all things fail, then 20 cents and 15 cents are coming straight through for XRP. Now, Ether on the weekly, we have broken the trend line and we have rejected, and there's a reason why I'm a lot more bullish on Ether, and I do believe Ether is going to be absolutely rocketing very soon. We have seen some wick fishing, we have been wiped out, but all in all, I mean, the signs are obvious. This thing is looking to absolutely boom. So from a dollar cost averaging perspective, also for BTC, XRP, Ether, LTC, no matter the pair, the prices are looking incredibly promising. So it's also a no-brainer for all of these pairs right now, even if they fall lower, to be accumulating crypto to some extent anyway. So understand that you have to be a bit cautious here, you have to be a bit safe, and also a bit smart as well. Utilize a bit of common sense and understand that dollar cost averaging at these prices, if you do see a boom towards all-time highs, the return on investment is going to be huge. And the daily here as well, just showing some nice signs again, broken higher, pulling back and rejecting, but I do feel like there is going to be some form of trickery on these pairs right now. That's why these current price points for me, they're not looking like good shorts and they're not looking like good longs. They're just looking like nice price action that we need to wait for fulfill. And this is what breaks and separates a very successful long-term trader from a short-term trader who will not last more than a few months or even a year. Because when you look at all these opportunities and you look at the market right now, if the market is not looking that promising, although the weekly looks good, as you can see this level of resistance here, I'll just plot that out for you. has been broken and rejected, it is looking very promising and it is looking very bullish, but we're not at a good price point to be entering any positions. There's no real confirmation just yet. If anything, it's just a bunch of mess and consolidation. So what really makes you a successful trader is having the ability to understand all of this, and then understand that there's no rush to be in a trade. There's no rush to execute this trade right now. It's in your best interest to simply just sit aside and let the market do the work for you. And LTC is another good example. You're seeing a very reoccurring theme right now on the weeklies. The shoulders, the head, the shoulders. Although it's very messy, it is still coming through quite nicely. And understanding this as well, technically, I guess you consider that the trend line retest, but we haven't seen a real trend line retest just yet, which means when LTC does boom, we can easily identify that $200 region. And I do believe that could come through relatively fast in the event LTC does reverse from this zone. But the same theory applies. We are maintaining this region. There is a very nice Fibonacci, I believe, on this as well. This just looks like a great Fibonacci. And there we have it, the 78.6, and conveniently $180 and also $224. Now, if this is the final floor for 2019, then this is the final bottom for LTC. There's a reason I have been incredibly bullish on LTC, because I believe it's going to do something drastic. If I drag this out here as well, we've broken the trend. Forget that for 1 second. We've broken the trend. We've rejected. We may see a bit of wick fishing down to 40, but overall, from a weekly perspective, this is screaming to be the final floor for 2019 before price begins to break out and starts achieving that $189 to $100, even $180 to $200 region. Looking at $220 to $225 over there as well. All in all, everything's looking perfect. So go into the weekly for Ether as well. Exactly the same as LTC. Dragging this over there, you can see exactly the same theory. We've fallen just short, which means for me, actually no, let's just drag this down to here, because that's not real, because we've got the huge wick over there. So you've got the 61.8, you've got around $375 and $450. Broken trend line as well. You can see the overall gist and the next upside targets for Ether do lie around these zones as well, and these could come through in a matter of days or weeks. XRP will finalize with this, and BTC, we can understand, just drawing this wick from there to there, 61.8, 35 cents and around 38 cents, an absolute no-brainer yet again, as long as we maintain. And for BTC, you already know that it's exactly at this region here. So if we do see this region come through, we see this tap here, then I will not have a take profit set on these longs, because we could genuinely catch the final bottom for 2019. So take this into consideration. We've either got $8,000 if it maintains. If not, we wait for the nosedive down to $6,000 to $5,500 and we strike from there. But regardless, we're ready. We've had this anticipated for a very long time, and I cannot wait to see what happens for the remainder of 2019.